Aloha and welcome to Permission to Flourish, a podcast about choosing growth, joy, and purpose on your own terms. I'm your host, Jay Cornell, and I sit down with leaders, creatives, and everyday visionaries who's given themselves permission to pause, pivot, and pursue what truly matters. These conversations are real, heartfelt, and here to remind you, you don't need permission. Let's get to today's episode. Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome to another session of the Permission to Flourish podcast. Our special guest today is Taylor Beck. Taylor is a certified ADR divorce coach who empowers women to move from chaos to clarity during life's most challenging transition. She helps clients become strategic, grounded, and confident as they navigate change, reclaim their voice, and discover the strength within their pivot. Through her work, Taylor guides women toward renewed purpose, resilience, and empowered decision making. Taylor, thank you so much for saying yes and coming on to the Permission to Flourish podcast. For those who are meeting you for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. But for anybody that does not know who I am or what I do, I am an ADR, which is Alternative Dispute Resolution, certified divorce coach. So I'm working with women every day who are navigating divorce, and I'm helping implement strategy, future focused decisions to help them enter the next chapter of their lives stronger, more confident, less chaotic.
That And how did you get involved in like what was your journey and how did you first realize that there was something so important about what you do, the work that you do?
Yeah, so divorce coaching is becoming more popular, just like any coaching industry. But for me personally, there is such a big gap between what a lawyer will do for somebody going through divorce, what a therapist will do for somebody going through divorce. And I actually went through my own personal divorce back in 2021 and realized not during the process, but afterwards, just how much I wish I would have done differently if I had known there were different ways to do things. If I had known there could have been somebody that existed in my corner to help me be prepared, be strategic, and have a better outcome. Because when you're going through divorce, emotions are very heightened and it can be really, really hard to sift through the noise of external and internal to make decisions that are going to benefit you versus negatively impacting you once the dust has settled.
Absolutely. And that's the most important, right? Because in the beginning, when you're first going through it, it's emotional, but it's more of a you have to be strong and you have to put on that good face. You don't want to break down because you have to get through it, but it's the aftermath when everything is done. So I love what you do. That is so important. And no one sees that, the backside of it. Like you can go through the traditional therapist, but does it always work for everyone? No. Me myself being divorced, I wish something like that was available to me at the time when I was going through my first divorce, and that was awful. I can so relate to the work that you do and how you're helping so many people.
Well, and therapists are so important. They're doing such an emotional labor to help clients sift through that piece. But where divorce coaches really come in is strategy, right? They're the neutral, or they should be, because
Yeah,
what a lawyer is going to do for you is completely different. And, a true divorce coach is not going to sit with you emotionally. They're going to help unpack so much more that prepares you for what's to come. But yeah, divorce is very complicated. There's a lot of layers to it. So it's really important to have the right people in your corner versus trying to navigate it by yourself or with well-intentioned family, friends, but that really might not know what they're talking about.
absolutely. And I'll share this personally about myself because you're sharing your personal that I was ashamed when I got divorced. I was ashamed, like I failed. And so I never sought out a professional therapist. And so if there was a coach available, I probably would have sought that out. So there's so much different things that we as women, we get in our own way sometimes. So I
A
like
lot of the
now.
time.
Yeah, and so now that we can have these type of conversations and not feel so ashamed or as failures and can actually have those real life conversations is so different compared to uh 30 plus years ago. So I don't want to, I'm just dating myself is what it is.
No, I mean, the shame is so real and it's still so common, even though I do actively see the narrative trying to shift, right? We're really trying to pivot away from the shame and stigma that's behind getting a divorce or going through that. But at the same time, even some of the clients I work with that are really high achieving women, you have this sense of self that's saying, like, there's layers to the shame, absolutely. And then well, I can do this myself. Or, I think there is kind of this connotation, like, why would I need a divorce coach? Like, what does that do for me? Like, one more expense, things like that. But for the people that you don't know what you don't know when you are navigating divorce, end of story. Like, nobody could prepare you for what is to come. But if you have the right people, hopefully they can help get you preparation. They can help get you strategy. So it's a little less painful on the other side.
And you talked about strategy. When your clients come to you, how do women tell the difference between, like being selfish and abandoning themselves? And then how do you help them strategize?
Yeah. So, well, there's two pieces to, I think, what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying self-abandonment and being selfish. So a lot of that comes with boundaries, and everybody's circumstances are different. So obviously, what somebody might come to me with, their circumstances if they have children versus somebody that doesn't, are going to be completely different pieces to strategize in that. But a lot of what I see with clients is that they are abandoning themselves to keep the peace, or they are seen as difficult if they are choosing themselves and what they believe that they want. And there's a really hard battle they face internally with trying to pick the solution that works themselves. So when I say strategy, because I'm ADR certified, there is a very, very specific training guidelines and standards that coaches who are ADR certified have to live and die by. And I don't want to say it's rigid, but in a way it is, because with that framework, it's remaining future focused, resolution focused. You are reality testing. So if somebody is coming and they are struggling with, like, what it means to choose themselves or how do they do that, it's really looking at what do they want. So for instance, I work with women a lot of the times with a 6 week minimum. So it's saying at the end of the 6 weeks together, what would make you happy, next steps. And it's when somebody comes to you in the middle of a divorce at the beginning or even towards the end, they have a ball of things, and they don't know what to do with it. And my time with them in every single session is spent focusing on just one of those things. So they might have a laundry list, but it's getting strategic with, like, what is actually going to move the needle forward in this session, and then going from there. Because you'll find when someone's able to focus on the biggest thing at the moment, or one thing at a time in general, they're going to be able to find the resolution themselves when they have a professional that can kind of push those boundaries, help them set the boundaries, help them walk away with clarity. But similar to counseling, you're not the ones creating or dictating. They are coming to that resolution themselves. So if somebody is struggling with self-abandonment, struggling with that, by having these sessions, getting strategy, they're walking away choosing themselves. They have the clarity to do so. They have the tools to do so. They have actionable next steps. to move forward with more confidence, to have those boundaries, understand what it means to them to choose themselves, and what the best next steps are for them in their situation.
I love that. And I love that you went through a rigorous training. And when people hear the word coach, it feels so like a trend to some people, so they get skeptical. So I love that you have the credentials and the training that you went through. That is amazing, and I love that. Um, when you hear the phrase, because the name of the podcast is Permission to Flourish, what does that mean to you personally at this stage in your life?
Yeah. So I love the title because as women, I think we so often set restrictions for ourselves or we put these constraints on ourselves for whatever reason. And a lot of times it's really just this external belief that we need to, contain X, Y, and Z about ourselves. But for the permission to flourish, for me, I think it's so powerful when you truly okay something in your life. And I had a therapist a long time ago who would say, you can write yourself a permission slip today, permission to do X, Y, and Z, to rest, to do these things that maybe you're having a hard time allowing yourself to do. So I think about that when I'm thinking permission to flourish. Like everybody deserves and has the right to flourish in this life and do things they're proud of that makes them feel good. So when you are giving yourself permission to flourish, you are opening up so many more possibilities in your life. So for me personally, that's what it means. I have loved being in my 30s, growing my business because it has taught me so much about giving myself permission to stand out, permission to speak, permission to be authentic, whatever that means to me. And then in turn, you do flourish from it.
Amazing. Was there a moment or, that almost stopped you from becoming who you are today?
Oh gosh, many moments, I'm sure. Truthfully, because going through my own divorce myself, I've also been in and out of court with my ex because we share a child together, and I would say it's relatively high conflict. So there are many moments in my own personal journey that definitely have caused some bumps in the road, truly, to just where I'm at with my capacity in life. And I would say that's been the biggest holdup, or in general, as I just kind of mentioned, society's constraints. I grew up very, as much as it was, you can do anything, I knew nobody really around me that had broken out of this 9 to 5 parameter. It was work for corporate America until you die, and that's it, save for retirement, end of story. But I am the first in my family to really do things without a mold. I very much do not color inside the lines. I'm all over the place. I have been my entire life, and it has taken me into my adult years, well into my adult years, to back to it, give myself permission to just be who I am. But there have definitely been hiccups that cause hesitancy.
But I like that you shared, you're leaving a legacy and you're breaking that stereotype where this is the pattern, this is the path you have to go because everyone in our family did it and you broke it. And that is so hard to do, especially if you're the first. So you're the one that's starting that legacy for the next generation. And so what legacy do you hope to empower or to show your child as, as your child grows, for that next generation?
Yeah, so I have 2 young boys, and my biggest thing that I want to impart with them is there is no ceiling to the things you can want to do, dream to do in this life. So often society really does just like push you back down, There is this supposed roadmap to what you should or shouldn't do or get success. And I want them to understand whether you, who matter, anybody you are in the world, because, they're looking at me and I have two boys, so they definitely look at like gender norms. I don't want that to be a thing. It does not matter who you are in this life. Like you are fully capable of creating that mindset to get you wherever you want to be. There is no ceiling unless you create the ceiling.
Absolutely, sky's the limits, and I love that mentality for your future, for your children, because it's so hard nowadays. You just see it all the time, and I mean, sometimes I can even say within my own family, and you're like, no, don't do that. Just let them go, let them be themselves, and
Yeah.
everything works out. Um, for say that one woman that's listening to the podcast and she feels stuck or unseen, what's one powerful step she can take right now?
So, a lot of people that are feeling really stuck struggle with even that first step, like you said. And it's not always so easy to just give a huge, daunting task. So, something I think is really powerful that people maybe find underrated, but is journaling. Because when you are being intentional with your words, with your time, with documenting the things going on in your life, there is a ripple effect. Whether that is journaling and realizing you're unhappy in your job, maybe it is you're unhappy in your marriage, or maybe slowly journaling is causing you to see patterns in your own behavior that you need to make adjustments on. But it starts somewhere. And maybe it's too hard for someone to say, take a walk every day, but everybody has access to paper and writing, and you then are able to put pen to paper to active changes in your life and maybe see the direction you want to start going in.
Yeah, journaling is so important. It's a part of my everyday, even if it's just 5 minutes, just a thought and just write it down.
Truly. Yeah, you can look back. I mean, I never was a big like importance of journaling, and post my divorce even I did journal in my first marriage, but I didn't realize how powerful it was until after, and I'm sitting in this mess of my new life, and trying to figure out like, well, how did I let it get to this point? And then I'm looking at old journal entries like, wow, it was so bad and I stayed, but I was so removed. I was just writing things and not staying connected to it or realizing it. And afterwards, I realized how powerful it was also to have that recollection of events as well versus just hazy memories or, making up things. You have it written down to know what actually happened.
Yeah, it's like I was here and, back then I was there and now I'm here and that bridge, it's like, wow, I actually crossed that bridge and look at where I
Hmm.
am today.
Exactly. Yeah. I really do think that journaling is so powerful. And like you said, even the 5 minutes, even just the 1 minute, because patterns do emerge. We are creatures of habit. So even if it is 2 seconds in the morning before you roll out of bed and get started with your day or before you close your eyes at night, you're going to start to see patterns. And then hopefully that would propel you to next steps in your life, whatever that might be.
Absolutely. Consistency is so key. What are you currently working on? So, what's on the horizon for you in 2026?
Oh, big things. I have a lot of big dreams for 2026. I am working on trying to do some speaking engagements. I am starting my own novel. I am revamping some of my packages for one-on-ones with clients. I have my first live workshop happening actually this Thursday. So my goal is I would really like to be intentional about how often I am hosting live workshops and then what I'm doing with the content afterwards to give people that needed that information.
Oh, amazing. And is this going to be your first workshop in 2026?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Great. And where can listeners connect with you or learn more about your event that's coming up Thursday?
Yeah, so any of my social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, my website, it's all at Revive and Rise Coaching. So that's social media handles, and then the website's reviveandrisecoaching.com. But I have all my information there. They can book one-on-one consults with me for free anytime. I love connecting with people.
And before we close, is there anything you'd like to leave with the listeners?
I would love to leave with the moment that, in addition to your title of the podcast being Permission to Flourish, your mindset quite literally impacts everything. So, whether you believe you can or you can't, you have your answer and you are in charge of the future you want to create for yourself.
Taylor, it has been such a pleasure having this conversation with you, and I just cannot wait to see all the amazing things you do in 2026. And I cannot wait till you finish your novel because I will absolutely love to read it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Mahalo, and thank you so much for tuning into Permission to Flourish. If today's conversation spoke to you, please leave a review and share it with a friend who needs a reminder that they too are allowed to share and thrive. Visit permissiontoflourish.com if you're ready to share your own story or explore our publishing opportunities. You'll also find free resources and inspiration to help you say yes to your own flourishing journey. Until next time, keep flourishing.